Okay, well, let me start with telling you who is on this call. My name is Alex Mondosian, and I'm calling in from the San Francisco area. Joe Polish, who's president of Piranha Marketing, he's calling in from Tempe. We have Vic Conant, who's president and CEO of Nightingale Conant Corporation out of the Chicago area. And we are making this seminar possible because of a very simple technology called a teleseminar. So welcome to the call. And the way this call came to be was through a very simple survey. And I guess we have Socrates to thank for that, because the Socratic method, which is over 2,400 years old, is alive and well. And we had a survey online, and you can see the survey form at vicconantlive.com. You can go there and check it out. Many of you filled out questions and gave Vic your questions. And Vic is there, and he asked you what was most important to you about personal development, spiritual growth, or wealth building. And we got hundreds of questions that came in. From the hundreds of questions, we've chosen 10 of them, and these are the 10 we're going to be covering. They're all on your note sheet. If you just joined us, it's at www.askvicconant.com/notes.pdf. And that's how this call came to be. It's a call for you as independent professionals, and many of the questions were probably written down by you because we had a lot of overlap with the questions. And the reason why we're doing this is a very rare interview because Vic doesn't do a lot of teleseminars outside of Nightingale Conant, is just to give you access to the man who's made such a big difference to the personal development community. So, Vic, before I go on to the first question, I want to give a quick background, and you jump in if anything is inaccurate, okay?
Certainly.
Okay. Well, first of all, Vic is the president and CEO of Nightingale Conant Corporation. And Nightingale Conant is the premier publisher of audio and personal development programs in the world. There's been a lot of pioneer work that's been done, and he's done a lot of good for a lot of people. He had the great fortune of growing up surrounded by the works of the modern legends such as Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, Dale Carnegie, Norman Vincent Peale. His dad, Lloyd, in motivation, these were the who's who of motivation. In fact, his dad, Lloyd, used to have a speaker in every room. I don't know if that's urban legend or not. He even had one in the bathroom. Is that true?
That's true.
I mean, wait. In the bathroom?
Yeah, when you didn't get away no matter what you were doing.
Ah, that's good. I like that. I'm going to have that done to Alex Mondosian, too. I think that'll be good.
Well, I'm building a home, and I'm actually putting a speaker in the bathroom, so I'm following your footsteps, Vic. And you've known to have said that when Dad played Earl Nightingale's recordings, people listened in that house no matter what they were doing. Is that correct?
That's the truth.
Okay. And Earl and your dad were partners, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went to the University of Michigan, and after graduating, you did a stint in Vietnam, and then you eventually joined the family business just as it started publishing other authors besides Earl Nightingale, who I believe Earl was on the radio an awful lot at that time, wasn't he?
Yes, we had a radio program called Our Changing World, which at one time was the largest syndicated radio program in the country.
And, Earl, the thing that is so memorable about Earl is his voice. I mean, he has this deep, resonant voice, and it's impossible to turn him off. In fact, I have let the car run with The Strangest Secret until, one of the segments is over because I just can't turn it off. Now, when you came to the business, you started publishing other authors, and I guess Dennis Waitley was the first. Is that still accurate?
Yes. We were kind of an Earl Nightingale company until about 1978, and Dennis Waitley came in with this program, and he so impressed both Earl and Lloyd that they published his program, which was The Psychology of Winning, and that went on to become and still is, I believe, the largest selling recorded program of all time. And so for about 10 years, we brought hundreds of programs, and nothing would come close to that one.
Well, it's amazing. It's still available. I own it. I know Joe owns it, and I've had a chance to meet Dennis. It's a fantastic program. So anyone who doesn't have that, get a hold of that, because these are principle-centered teachings. These never become obsolete, and that's the psychology of winning. Now, you took over the business as president in 1986, and you've spearheaded its growth to, I think, just under $50 million as of last year. You are the dominant publisher in the field, and I think you work with more self-improvement authors and spiritually based authors and wealth development authors, debt elimination authors than any other human being alive today. Would you say that's accurate?
Well, we're a big fish in a little pond, and we've been because of the success we've had with our authors and our programs. We've been lucky enough to publish most of the great authors out there.
Well, I'll tell you, any upcoming author or anyone who has a best-selling book in the field of human potential, they seek you folks out at Vic Conant. And with that, I want to turn everyone to page 2 of the notes sheet. Okay, these are all about, this entire interview is about the critical factors of personal development. But some of the questions deal with spirituality, others deal with wealth building. So, Vic, let's dive into question number 1, and I'm going to hand it over to Joe to start off with question number 1, and we'll just alternate back and forth, Joe.
Okay, great. Well, the first question that came in from the survey is about dead time learning. And so what I want to ask you, Vic, is, actually what everyone that submitted a question, this is one of the most frequently asked questions, believe it or not. Why are most of your learning programs in audio, meaning CD or cassette tape, which I think you're doing away with, versus videos or DVDs?
Well, certainly, a lot of people love videos, and they're valuable for group presentations or exercise. I use them for golf instruction, and books are fabulous as well. But our customers have told us over the years, and we've learned through personal experiences, just the tremendous benefit of what we call audio learning. And we have a saying that when your hands are busy but your mind isn't, it's a good time to be using audio. And when you're driving is a perfect time. Brian Tracy, one of our great authors and great friends, says that our car is the university on wheels, which it is. You can with the time that especially people out in L.A. and here in Chicago spend commuting, they can get a tremendous education on through audio learning. But also just while exercising, that's one of my favorites, and housework or getting dressed. It's tremendously portable and self-paced. It's a wonderful device.
Well, let me speak to that too, because I have gotten an enormous amount of my marketing education, which is where I specialize in the area of direct response marketing, through listening to audio programs. I've learned more through audio than probably reading, seminars, everything combined. I mean, I've spent so much time in exercising in my car, on my iPod. I was recently, we all met together, Alex and Vic and your son Carson, over at Bill Phillips, the author of Body for Life. We met over his home in L.A., and I was working out one morning with Bill because I was there for like almost a week, and we were listening to self-improvement programs while we were working out. So it's got applications everywhere, and I would like to say to all the listeners out there that a much better use of spending time in a vehicle than talking on a mobile phone is certainly listening to audio programs. Not only is it typically more productive, but it's a lot safer too.
Well, I think one of the great things about it that I've learned over the many years, of course, I've been exposed to it, is just the fact that re-listening is so easy. We hardly ever reread a book, but we have many customers that have written and called to say that they've listened hundreds of times, literally, to their favorite programs, and we like to refer to our programs as lifetime companions. That every time you listen to them, you're going to get something new and different out of the program, and our minds are kind of like record players that every time you hear an idea, your mind kind of shifts away and stops listening, and so you invariably are going to miss part of the message, and the next time through you'll pick that up or pick other things up as your situation in life changes. So they're just the whole area of audio learning is just to me it's just very powerful. We all need reminding of the great principles, and our minds are tremendously powerful, but they have a good thing. They actually forget the things that happen to us that are bad. If we've all been embarrassed in the past, and if our mind didn't forget, we'd be embarrassed every day about that same incident. But our mind forgets, and it's a wonderful thing. Except if you're trying to remember something positive about your life, your mind also has a tendency to forget, and so because of that, we need to constantly feed our mind and remind ourselves of how great we are, and that's part of what our programs do.
Yeah, and another thing I want to add is active versus passive. Vic, when I read a book, when I watch a DVD, when I watch a movie, I actively have to pay attention, and I cannot multitask. But when I listen to something, I can do it passively. In fact, I can multitask, and I can do multiple things either at my desk or driving my car or working out in the gym. And on the speakers, if I'm listening to a how-to course, which I would prefer over music because at least I'm feeding my mind, passively, it's almost sneaking in. You know what I mean? It's sneaking into my mind. I'm learning from it, and I tend to wonder why people mute their television during a television commercial and they don't turn the TV off. They don't turn it off because they don't need to, but they do mute it because they know subconsciously, I guess, the power of audio. And Nightingale Conant, you guys use that positively by turning a frustration of being in traffic or the pain of working out on a treadmill and turning that into a positive experience where actually there's some learning, and we've called it dead time learning for this particular question. But you want to add anything to that and what you do in your daily routine, and as far as how passive and how simple it is to learn when you're listening?
Well, just one fascinating fact that occurred to me not long ago, and that is that this whole area of audio learning is really brand new. It's in relative terms throughout all of civilization. There was no audio listening available where you could take a top instructor, in one part of the world and learn that person's information, especially through audio. And only in with the advent of the cassette, which was in the 1970s, that which is only 30 years ago, that we even have this tool available to us, and where we can take the top expert in a field like Joe is in marketing, and very inexpensively expose that person to virtually everybody in the world if they're aware of it.
That's a very good point. I guess the first source of learning was oral tradition back in biblical times, and from 5,000 years to 30 years ago, it took until we could duplicate that and very inexpensively have those lessons taught. But let's move on to question number 2, which has to do with personal insights. And this question was directed to you. You have all the great authors at Nightingale Conant, but then you have Vic Conant, and you have Carson Conant, and you have all the people who work there at that great company. And, you could look at all the authors as having a treasure map to a treasure chest, but then a lot of people see you, Vic, as the treasure chest full of other treasure maps because you have access to all these folks, and you've seen so much more than the rest of us. So this is directed towards you as far as your personal insights. Question number 2 on page 2 of the note sheet. What are the 3 most important insights you've learned from all of the personal development, wealth building, and spiritual development courses that Nightingale Conant has sold over the years?
Well, first, it's an awesome responsibility to try to come up with 3, but I'm honored to do so. My number 1 is just the realization that each of us controls our own lives through our thinking. Every one of our authors, I believe, and every great thinker and individual as they mature have probably discovered this same fact throughout the ages, and yet it's a life-changing discovery whenever we do make that realization. Earl created our first Nightingale Conant program, the Strangest Secret, back in 1956. About this idea, and the idea was you become what you think about. and which was revolutionary at the time, that your thoughts actually have something to do with your reality. But in fact, our thoughts control, and many people believe create our reality. And I think the interesting thing is that it puts a great responsibility on each of us to control our thinking. I'm a student of the Course in Miracles, and it says in there that we allow ourselves too much mind wandering, and I think that's so true. You know, the average person can kind of spiral around in a negative direction if we allow our mind to go that direction. This principle is really the basis for positive thinking, and I think it's just critical that we stay conscious of our thinking and control our thinking.
That's a great first insight. How about number two?
I think it's the understanding that each of us are capable of accomplishing, tremendous things if we have the ability to commit to that thing. And so it's the power of commitment is my number two example. I love to use Wayne Dyer as an example. Many of you know him through our programs and other people's programs. He's one of the most prolific and wonderful authors out there. But Wayne, some people don't know, Wayne did for 21 years, Wayne ran 10 miles a day without missing a day.
Really?
And I calculated that's 7,665 days straight, with no exceptions. And the reason I bring that up in this area of commitment is that the average person tends to have a lot of different priorities in their lives, a lot of different objectives, and some of them conflicting. I might want to lose weight, but when I get to lunch, a different priority takes over, and
yes.
and I eat that pie or whatever. We have a hierarchy of life objectives, whether we realize it or not. And I think the thing that separates great achievers from non-great achievers is that they become conscious of what those top priorities are. And like Wayne, Wayne, when it was raining out, he ran. If he felt sick, he ran. If he was on an international plane, he ran up. He just jogged in place. If he was in a hotel and it was snowing, he ran up and down the aisles. He didn't allow any reason to come up that interrupted that top priority. And and we all have our top priorities, and they're different from different people, but most people allow other priorities to kind of slip up and down, and they're kind of tenuous, whereas the great achievers, I think, are ones that maintain that one top priority or several top priorities, and nothing gets in the way of that objective.
So the first insight being thinking, which is internal, and then commitment, number two, which I guess is external and taking action to the thinking. What's the third insight that you've gotten over the years?
It's more of a spiritual side. That's just realizing the power of forgiveness and love as a key to happiness. I've got a favorite author, Jerry Jampolsky, did a program called Love is Letting Go of Fear, and actually several other ones. But Jerry is a great old friend and very insightful person. And he believed that fear causes all conflict, divorce and even wars, and that there really are only two emotions, fear and love, and they can't exist at the same time. And so there's just an exercise that you have if you're ever experiencing fear or ever experiencing distress. you just check your thinking and as he would say, choose again. Choose love or choose forgiveness, and you'll find it's just tremendously powerful in eliminating fear and eliminating that distress. And I've used that for many years, and I think it's just the most powerful spiritual message that I've run across.
It's interesting you say that, Vic. My wife, Amy, whom you haven't met yet, but she has a master's degree in all areas of spiritual psychology.
Wow.
From the University of Santa Monica, which is one of the only accredited universities that offers that. And anytime we argue, she's always asking me, what are you afraid of? So you're dead on there, and I pretty much agree with those three insights, and thank you for sharing those. Joe?
No, that's fabulous. You know what, Vic? I mean, I've interviewed you in the past for my Genius Network, which we did a great interview, and I've got like a page of notes here already just from listening to you. This is fabulous. Well, and I'm the interviewer, so here we go. Now, question number 3, which is on page 3 of the notes, talks about the topic of unsupportive families, unsupportive family, or just personal relationships. So, in your opinion, what's the best way to handle family members who don't support personal development programs?
Well, I might have to ask you guys this. You may have better insights than I do because, when I grew up, we were in a kind of a unique family in that we were immersed in this new business of self-improvement in kind of the modern times, and our family was so into it and so supportive that I really don't have a great exposure to having to deal with it. Certainly, I've run into individuals, and many over the years, who absolutely have no idea how our business stays in business, and why people buy our products, because they just don't understand it. And I just find that a person has to have their thinking has to be at a certain level before they even realize the power of these messages. And I think I guess I would just recommend that you can't change other people. Certainly by arguing with them, and the best thing is you just got to take responsibility for yourself. You got to, as I said earlier, you got to take control of your own thinking and value your own direction. And in spite of other people's opinions, you have to go your own way. And the nice thing again about the portability of products and even seminars like this is you can do them whether other people want you to or not. You can because of the portability. And the best way to convert somebody is just through your own example. If they see changes in you and the positiveness in you, that's probably the best chance any of us have to convert someone.
Well, I have a story about this, Joe, because I figured Vic would have a challenge with this since he was immersed in his father being who his father was, and his entire family being involved in the business. I thought that, Vic, I thought your response would be, well, I have no idea. Everyone supports this kind of thing. So I don't know how to respond. But I'll tell you, I had an uncle, and I come from an Armenian, I'm 100% Armenian, Middle Eastern descent, and I'm second generation. But I have uncles and aunts who grew up in the Middle East, and the moray structure there, the personal philosophy is that you never go outside the family. You always get advice within the family, no matter how dysfunctional or functional it may be. And so when I started first listening to Nightingale Conant programs, and I stayed loyal to you, Vic, because I knew of no other. I mean, I didn't know if there were any other companies out there, but when I was first exposed to it, which was for me in 1987, I just had graduated from college, I just started, listening to those clamshell packages you had, and I love the fact that I didn't have to read anything. I mean, maybe on the inside of the clamshell there was maybe 8 little write-ups for each of the, tapes. At that time it was all audio cassette, but that was it. I was so happy I didn't have to read, because at the time I didn't like reading, but I used to sneak it in and just listen to it. And it was almost, I wouldn't say it was sinful as far as my family was concerned, but it wasn't that acceptable for me to go outside of the family and listen to strangers giving their insights about how to live spiritually, about how to, just their own personal insights of how to build wealth, how to develop personally and motivationally and leadership and all the different topics that you cover. So I pretty much know what that feels like. And I had one uncle that used to poo-poo everything. Some people call that archetype like a dream stealer, right? So, well, how come you're not a millionaire yet? You've been listening to these tapes for 3 months. How come you're not a millionaire yet? Or how come it's not showing up in your life? And, constantly just hitting me with that. And finally I just stopped listening to him. I loved him, but, I forgave him, just like you said in your third insight that you just previously gave. And I just immersed myself, and it worked for me. And after a while, you get the bug. It's like this positive germ that fills your nervous system, and all of a sudden there's a rush of adrenaline. It's just, you have like a friend you just have. Back then it was with audio tape. I just slip it into the cassette player, and there's this calm that would just come over me. And it sounds a little corny, but I'm sure people can relate to it who's listening, the people who are listening right now. And all of a sudden my eyes would light up. There was I'd have a different walk. I'd have more confidence. I had a huge business lesson. I, lost a lot of money in my first business venture. And I would have to say, if it weren't for personal development and motivational tapes and leadership books, I would not be talking to you guys today. Everyone who has taught me, my silent mentors, many of whom they don't know who they are. Vic, you're certainly one of them. They've helped me through this process. So with unsupportive family, the way I would respond, since, I had some family members who were not supportive, is just do it anyway. Sneak it in. And then when you get the bug, you become unstoppable. Leave a tape or an audio cassette on the table. Don't even ask them to listen to it. Put the CD on the table and then watch. All of a sudden, they'll play it and they'll come back, and it won't be situated the exact same way you put it there. And then you'll see a whole change in attitude. And I will tell you, it's happened with my family members, my closest family members. It's happened with cousins. And, I don't know if they're clients and customers of yours, Vic, but I know that they have listened to the audio cassettes. I had to get CDs because they're wearing out my audio tapes, So that's my insight. There's always a pessimist or two in every family, and I think those people are there to test us and to see whether these principles are immutable that, are filling our ears and our minds. So, Joe, do you have any insights about unsupportive family?
Yeah, well, so the way some people live their lives are just to serve as a bad example to others. I mean, that's a joke, by the way. Nonetheless, what I think you said, Vic, lead by example is critical. What you said, Alex, is superb. I mean, capturing that bug. I mean, I never really quite heard it that way, but I absolutely can relate to that. That once you get the benefit of it, you just continue to want that benefit. I mean, why does somebody listen to music, the same songs, have a favorite song, a movie that they would watch, a couple of times? It's because it makes them feel a certain way. Well, when I listen to certain audio programs, I feel a certain way. And when you don't have anyone in your life to support you, and worse yet, say you have a group of people that are predominantly, as our friend Dan Sullivan would say, battery drainers versus battery chargers, more of a reason to get your support structure from someplace else. And so if you don't have a support structure externally, you can get a support structure from audio learning programs, because every time I listen to a positive audio program that teaches me capabilities, gives me direction, gives me confidence, I just feel better. And I think people absolutely need it in times where, you're feeling down. One of my clients said to me about listening to, some of my interviews and stuff, he said, Joe, the one thing I like about it is it just constantly keeps you up when you consume this type of stuff. And that's why I do it. And the last thing I'll say to it is that one thing I've learned about being a marketer and selling information and how-to information is that if I ever try to focus my efforts selling that type of product and information to people that very much need it the most, then it's a very hard way to become successful. The typical client that I think buys my information, certainly that buys from Nightingale Conant, is people that have a successful mindset. And so you said one thing, Vic, that you get to a point kind of where you evolve, and it just makes sense to see the benefits in all of this. And we all know people out there that really need some of these programs, but the ones that really need it, the exact reason they really need it is from the fact that they don't ever participate in it. And so the people that need the stuff the most, and the ones that have probably the negative mindsets, are that way because they've not, in my opinion, have not evolved in seeing the benefit of how this it could be useful to them. And so I think people that really like self-improvement programs, those are my favorite type of people, because they're if nothing else, their focus is on getting better and doing better and looking for the good in the improvement, no matter what stage they're at. So the last thing I'll leave with is, for all the listeners, if you have unsupportive family or friends, spend your time hanging out with battery chargers, not battery drainers. And I think there are so many programs that Nightingale Conant offers that without having a live battery charger there, you can just pop it into a CD player and you can just listen, and there you go.
Well, Joe, along those lines, let's give an unadvertised bonus gift to everyone listening right now, whether you're live or you're listening to the replay. If you send an email, write this down, grab a pen, write this down, write down the email address, Gina, that's Gina, at joepolish.com. This is going to be a surprise to Joe. But
yeah, I'm sitting there wondering what you're doing there.
Well, you know what? You did a great interview with Vic, and I studied it, and I've listened to it, and I've read it and highlighted it, and I want everyone to get access to it for free, and it's off your geniusnetwork.com site. It's for sale there, but I want to give it to everyone for free, if you don't mind. If anyone sends an email to Gina at joepolish.com and put in the subject line, "Give me more Vic." Give me more Vic.
I think we got a tagline now, Vic.
Give me more Vic in the subject line, then Gina will send back to you the audio files for that interview that Joe did. Exceptional interview, and I learned a lot about Vic just reading through that, and it was exceptionally done through the geniusnetwork.com interview series. So send a blank email, just put "Give me more Vic" in the subject line, and send it to Gina at joepolish.com. And let's go on to question number 4, Vic, and this is all about business. People wanted to know, what are the top money makers? So just off the top of your head, and if you know these if you checked it out, please tell us that you did, we don't want to know exact figures or anything, but what are the top money makers at Nightingale Conant, and why do you think they've sold so well to your client base?
Well, I thought I'd share, not only the top money makers, but more importantly, I think the top life-changing products, in my opinion. Certainly lead the field. Earl Nightingale, who is my dad's partner, and we had talked about earlier, who had the radio program and Our Changing World, and Earl was a genius writing. He was a great writer, but because he was actually a radio commentator when he was young, became a great audio personality, and that's really what drove our company in the direction we went into audio publishing. And Earl just had created a product called Lead the Field, which was basic principles of successful living, and I've seen this program used by kids. I've seen it. We had an executive that came in to run a major part of our company, and it immediately became his very powerful guy and very sophisticated, and it became his favorite product as well. So it has the ability to span time, just like the Bible. Truth is truth, and and so Lead the Field has been our best-selling product, for 40 some years, and of course the Psychology of Winning, as I mentioned, was tremendously strong as well. Tony Robbins is one of my favorite personalities and authors, and he has a product called The Power to Shape Your Destiny. It isn't necessarily the top product seller because we've sold many products with Tony, but it's his latest one, I think, is his best one, and I'd recommend, if you don't have a product by him, he is just an outstanding personality, and in fact, I have I'll just throw in because some people don't like Tony because he's so enthusiastic and he's so powerful, and I have just a a philosophy I'd like to share with our friends and out in telephone land here, and that is that so many times I've heard people say they don't like Deepak Chopra because he has an Indian accent, or they don't like Robert Schuller because he's he has a certain type of way of speaking, and I always think if Jesus Christ was in front of us and sharing great ideas, I could just see somebody turn and say, I just don't like the guy's accent,
right.
and not listen. And to me, it's almost like an excuse for trying to find a way to not listen to something that might help you. And maybe just because of my heritage or the exposure I've had, I just skip over the personalities, I skip over the accents, and I just listen for that information that comes out from these great personalities, and I think that would serve any of our listeners well if they do that.
That's a great point, Vic.
But that's just an aside I had to get in. But because my next person I was going to mention was Deepak Chopra, who, to me, possibly my favorite of all products is one that he did called The Higher Self. He's a kind of a spiritual guy and has a lot of insights, tremendous insights. And his first product was Magical Mind, Magical Body, and which is a great product. But later on, he did this one called The Higher Self, and which is I think an unbelievable product. And Wayne Dyer has always been a big seller. His How to Be a No Limit Person was our first product with him, and still one of my favorites. And his more recent one, Manifesting Your Own Destiny, is a great product. And then Brian Tracy, you can't leave out Brian because he's just, we've done so many products with him, and he's been so successful and continues to be such a prolific author. And he has the best-selling product we've ever produced called The Psychology of Selling. And just he has many, on goal setting, time management, and just about anything you can mention, he publishes on. And of course, the newest one, Piranha Marketing.
Yes, I was waiting for that.
Funny thing about Psychology of Selling, Vic, is those are one of the audio tape programs where I had to get the CD set because they wore them out. So I got two of those. One in audio, which I can't listen anymore because they're just worn out. I've listened to them so many times, and that the CDs, of course, they last forever. So very, very interesting. Any others before we go on to Joe?
Those are the ones that came to my mind that have certainly impacted my mind. I mean my life. Maybe Joe has some other ideas.
Oh, well, no, I love Lead the Field. That is absolutely one of my favorite programs. I think I've listened to Earl Nightingale's Lead the Field probably more than any other improvement program ever. I mean, I just love it, and I never get sick of it, and it's so much filled with wisdom. And, certainly, God, I've listened to so many different programs. Brian Tracy's fabulous. He's a good friend of mine. I mean, both Alex and I have interviewed Brian. We've actually got a Genius Network interview coming up with him in a couple of months. We're going to do kind of like we're doing with you right now, Vic. It's, so you can't go wrong with any of the programs you mentioned. Certainly. Well, so what I'll do, I'll go on to the next one, which it kind of ties into this, the last question you were just talking about. People submitted this question about personal development budget. So a lot of the listeners are interested in your insights on this. So, Vic, what percentage of income would you dedicate to purchasing personal development learning programs or attending live teleseminars and seminars just to improve yourself?
Well, I would dedicate all your budget. Everything you have. Now, actually, it seemed a little self-serving for me to address that head on, but I would like to kind of approach it from a different angle. First of all, I love to mention this because, and many of you who know Joe may know this, but Joe shared with me once that, he personally has, it may have gone up, but he used to have a $50,000 budget for his own education. And for somebody that is, already as successful as he is, I think it's just a great example of what somebody, what kind of a learner Joe is, and that one always just struck me as outstanding. And what occurs to me is that many of us have been fortunate enough to go to college and spend, like my kids just came out, and I was spending $25,000. It's probably gone up since my kids graduated, but every year to go to college, and then when we graduate, we kind of think, well, that's over with now. I don't have to learn anything more, and I know this is not the way the people on this call are thinking, because they wouldn't be on this call, but that the vast majority of the people out in the world kind of go into an apathy after that, but if you're trying to think of how much to spend, I would use kind of a return on investment as a way of looking at it. And the way I think about it is, if a lot of our programs are $100 or $200 or $300, and I mean, if you were going to put $100 in the stock market, and you'd be thrilled if it doubled. You'd go crazy if it went up 5 times, and yet because we're dealing with the mind, which is the most powerful vehicle on the planet, and because our information that we share has to do with improving the way we think and improving the way we operate our minds. It's just there just is no comparison of any other investment in my mind that you could make. Typically, if you make an improvement, many times that same improvement will last the rest of your life. So you're getting an improvement that doesn't just impact this year. It'll impact the rest of your life. So it's just when you think about should I do it or should I not do it, I guess I would just use that investment theory just to kind of check yourself.
It's a great point that you made about it's not just a financial return, it's all other areas that you benefit and grow as a result of doing it. And it was an interesting question too. I mean, it was surprising to see how many people actually wanted to kind of get some insight in your opinion on that. From my personal standpoint, out of all the financial investments I made, nothing has brought a greater return back to me financially and in all other ways than self-improvement. And I constantly say at my seminars and when I write and do teleseminars to my own clients that a lot of people, they don't want to go to seminars, they don't want to listen to audio programs, read books, subscribe to newsletters. They don't really want to do that stuff. What they want is they want results in their life. And in order to get results, you need capabilities. And so where are you going to go in order to get the capabilities? And I don't know who originally said this. I've heard Dan Kennedy say it many times, that school is never out for the pro. And, people that would graduate or just, get out of school and then all of a sudden do life the rest of the way you do it. I mean, to me, that has never made sense. I mean, I'm constantly learning, and it has brought so many wonderful benefits to me. Not only have I been fortunate enough to have pretty good financial success, it's just all of the other byproducts of that. And it doesn't even make sense for me to not live this way because there's so many good benefits to it. So thank you for your insights into that. Alex, I don't know if there's anything else you'd want to add. Well,
I'll tell you, Vic, I look at it like tithing. Some people tithe to a church, some people tithe to a charity. I tithe to myself and actually putting aside a budget, and it's in the tens of thousands of dollars like Joe, for the year. I didn't have that capability before, but I do now, with the level of income I have, and it's been the only appreciating asset I've ever invested in. I mean, it's guaranteed. It appreciates. Time after time, you invest in it once, and it just keeps appreciating. And speaking of which, anyone who's on this call right now, if you haven't invested in the audio transcripts, we are going to deliver the physical audio transcripts, that's the CD and the physical transcripts, to your door for less than $30 on this call. We wanted to make it as affordable as possible. So if you haven't already done so, you can go to hearvic.com. That's HEARVIC.com. You've already paid the $1 to get here. We want to make this as affordable as possible without any excuses to be on the call. If you haven't already done so, though, please get the audio transcripts to this call. We are committed to content, and hopefully we have demonstrated that to you so far in this call, which is about 60% done. Just go to that page and turn the 0 into a 1 right where it says audio transcripts delivered, and then you can turn the quantity of 1 to 0 where it says $1 teleseminar, unless you want to tie an extra $1 to Vic for returning to that page, and then we will get you the audio transcripts delivered, and you'll get it within the next 30 days. It takes some time to transcribe and to enhance those transcriptions. So let's move on to question number 6, which is learning time. And people wanted to know for themselves, I think, and wanted to know just curiously, how much time you personally spend, Vic, each day on listening to your own products. And you've already mentioned your 3 favorites, but how much time do you spend each and every day listening to your own products?
Well, I'm so fortunate because I'm exposed to this, tremendous asset, tremendous library that I have, and in addition, I have kind of the responsibility to preview a lot of the products that do come in and that we that we look at. We probably choose one product out of every 100 or so products that are submitted. So we have to go through a lot of previews, and I don't have to listen to the first round, but as they get closer, I get to listen to some of them. And so that kind of, actually takes away some of my time for listening to our own products. But I probably, spend 2 or 3 hours a day either listening or reading. I do, kind of a regimen of spirituality in the morning where I do some reading and then I usually exercising and driving, I'll always have something on to listen to.
That's great.
Yeah, well, let's go right on to becoming debt-free, because this is a big subject, and I also know one of your categories where you actually do have a lot of really great programs in this area. So question 7, which is on the bottom of page 5, it's at the top of page 5, I'm sorry. Becoming debt-free. So, Vic, what are your top recommended authors and or programs on the topic of eliminating debt?
I have, I kind of expanded it to also and become wealthy. So we have one product in particular that I would recommend on getting out of debt, and that is a program by John Commuta called Transforming Debt into Wealth, and that's just to me the very top one. That it's logical, it's step by step. Here's a guy that was in serious debt problems himself and got himself out of it and really created a business around it where he became such an expert at it that he has become the top author probably in the country in this subject, and we've just because of the tremendous debt problem we have in this country, and that doesn't seem to be going away. This product has become just a perennial, huge seller for us, but once you let John get you out of debt, then the next stage is starting to build your wealth, and actually John has a new product called the Wealth Machine that helps in that area. But we have many products in the area of real estate and stock markets, and in real estate we have the Property Investment School by Dolph DeRoos, who's a great guy that on accumulating homes and turning homes for profit. The kind of a different philosophy. There's a fellow named Mike Summey and Roger Dawson, Roger did our great product, one of the best sellers in our library on negotiating, The Secrets of Power Negotiating.
I have that. That's a great product.
He's a great guy, but he co-authored this product with Mike Summey, and I just love it. It's called the Weekend Millionaire Real Estate Investing Program, and this Mike Summey just I think he owns 200 homes. His whole philosophy is buy and keep, and he's actually and he's done it on the weekend, so that's why it's called the Weekend Millionaire. So it's his philosophy, and Roger adds the negotiating component, and it's just an outstanding real estate product.
You know, can I mention one of my favorite wealth building programs too is the Automatic Millionaire by David Bach, which you guys offer. Is fabulous. And of course, I know David. Both me and Alex do, and
he'll be at your boot camp, I think.
Yeah, he'll be at my boot camp. Hopefully, you'll be at my boot camp this year, Vic. I'm not 100% sure on that, but
Great.
I'd love to have you there.
Great.
And so anyway, yeah, there's so many fabulous programs, and I've listened to the John Kamada one, and I've recommended that to a lot of my clients. And let me mention one thing that's kind of off the subject. When I was first starting out in business, I've chosen the entrepreneurial path. I was first buying my self-improvement programs on credit cards because I was in debt. And part of my ability to get out of debt was what I had learned, the capabilities and skills that I had learned from self-improvement and from my education. And now, you know, mentioning numbers, I easily spend close to $100,000 a year on average every year, and have done so for probably at least 8 years on my own personal education. But it's come back to me so many times over, and in the beginning, I was not able to do that. I was living on credit cards in the beginning.
So I gotta change my number from 50 to 100.
You could, yeah. And you know, it is.
Yeah, I haven't kept up.
It isn't a contest. You know, it's never a contest. It's just what I do for myself, and you know, the day that I quit investing on my own education is when I don't see a result anymore, and I'm pretty convinced that that'll never happen. It always comes back. It's just applying yourself. So, anything you want to add? I did
want to add a couple more programs just in the stock market area. You know, that's such a treacherous area, but there's two products that I really like. You know, Warren Buffett is the greatest investor in history, and we did a program with a fellow named Robert Miles who has kind of studied Warren Buffett for many years, and it's how to build wealth like Warren Buffett. And it has a lot of his techniques in there that I think are very sound from a stock market standpoint. And also a fellow named Bill Staten who has the 7 Secrets to Becoming a Millionaire. And he has some very sound conservative techniques as well.
Well, it's exceptional way to find these products. It's very simple. If you go to nightingale.com, Nightingale, as in Earl Nightingale, nightingale.com. And it's funny, the tagline is "You become what you think about," Vic. It's right there, right underneath that logo. But there's a little search field, and if you just, you know, I just typed in "eliminate debt," and there's John Kamada right there. You know, if you type in Piranha Marketing, this really interesting program comes up too. If you know how to spell it, of course. Yeah, Piranha. But I mean, just based on the question, you know, becoming debt free, I just typed in "eliminate debt," and all of a sudden, these John Kamada programs just came out, and one was about transforming debt into wealth, and then the other is the wealth machine, just like you talked about. It just comes up. So it's as simple as doing a quick search. So you can check that out. Anyone listening, go to nightingale.com and do a quick search, and it tells a little bit about those courses as well. And that brings us to question number 8, which has really been the backdrop of our entire conversation, Vic, which is picking mentors. This question came in various different forms, but it came in this way mostly, and which is, with all the hype and motivation that surrounds personal development, what are the practical criteria for picking the ideal guru in an area of expertise, such as spirituality? Now, this is an interesting question for me because we were at Bill Phillips' house, and I remember in talking with you, I was expecting to hear names like Napoleon Hill or Earl Nightingale or things like that, and you said Deepak Chopra was one of your favorite authors, and that was surprising to me, not because of Deepak Chopra, but I just thought someone else, you know, besides Deepak Chopra and other topics would be of interest, but that seemed to be very interesting to you. And so spirituality has a big part in your life, and I'm just wondering, in finding a guru or a mentor in the different areas of wealth building or spirituality or in personal development motivation, do you have any criteria for yourself that you can lend as advice to people listening right now?
Well, of course, that's a very personal thing, and I guess because of the business I'm in, I really have not allowed myself to have a guru. I think I have many gurus. Almost, I have several, probably in every category of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Because next month I have to find the next one, and I have to go find. One of the things that has always fascinated me is sometimes after publishing 1,000 different products, we say we just can't find anymore. It's almost like daunting. There just can't be anybody else out there, and the next day someone comes in that has a different way of saying it, or a new way of saying the same thing, or approaching the same subject but in a different way, and it's just thrilling to see how new and talented people come in all the time. So I'm kind of always looking for the next idea. I guess I'm kind of an idea person. That's always rather than the any specific. I have my favorite people that I've kind of mentioned, but in addition, there's just hundreds of programs that that are exciting, and hopefully we'll make it easy for you to find your own favorites, because we, as I say, we sift through hundreds of programs to come up with one, and just like with Joe, we publish very few marketing products, and after getting acquainted with Joe, it became apparent that he was such a pro in this area. We ended up putting together a fascinating great product in marketing with him, and that's just an example. But I guess if you wanted to try to find one, try to get a feeling easily, I'd go to our website, and then you can read about the author. You can actually listen to segments of the program and kind of get a feeling yourself. And then we have the a 30-day money-back guarantee, or a 30-day free trial. In many cases where you can just get the program and have a chance to review it and form your own opinion. So we've tried to make it about as easy as we can, and again, because of our this whole investment idea, I think in the low price of the products relative to their value, I think you hardly have any you can't go wrong in trying a variety of products to come up with your own favorite guru or favorite author on any topic.
Well, Vic, would you agree that at least looking for a mentor just automatically helps you shave off years of trial and error of doing it yourself, whatever topic or idea that you're focused on?
Yeah, the great thing, and let's use Joe again for example. Here's a guy that spends this $100,000 a year. He works his butt off, studying one field which he loves, which is marketing, and I get to come along, and for just a few bucks, I get to take advantage of his tremendous expertise and learn from that expertise, and so it's to me that's the power of this material is that these individuals will spend their whole life studying a subject like self-esteem or goal setting or whatever it is, and we get to come along afterwards, and instead of having to read all the books and spend all those years and hours of study, we get to take advantage of that, and
you get to cherry pick it almost.
Yeah, it's a fascinating to me. It's a wonderful value.
Well, Joe?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. First off, I want to say thank you for mentioning all the nice things about my program, and I also want to mention, just to give credit where credit is due, is that the co-author with me on the program is Tim Paulson, who's a former VP for Hair Club for Men and has worked with me for many years and is just a phenomenal guy. And so when we put together our Piranha marketing program, Tim, equally put in tremendous amounts of effort into that. And so there's, it's great to have access to all the tools. And one thing you said, Vic, about people studying a particular subject their whole life, and then you can just get that. Not only can you get it for pennies, literally, you've got authors there that have spent 10, 20, 30 years immersed in a subject that have so much wisdom to share, and it's what you guys do is uniquely package it up and make it available to people in so many areas. And I seriously doubt there's anyone that's listening that doesn't have one area of their life that they either need improvement, they're experiencing frustrations, they have opportunities for, where they cannot find so many solutions literally available to them through Nightingale Conant just by going to nightingale.com. So let's move on to the next question just because of time. A topic, wealth attitude. A lot of questions came in for this, and so the way it's been articulated here is, what's the single most important non-monetary step to creating financial wealth, in your opinion, Vic, for someone who lives paycheck to paycheck every month?
I get back to my original statement on commitment, and that is that, if you're going paycheck to paycheck, the first thing you've got to do is make that commitment to wealth. You have to make that. You have to move, just like Wayne Dyer did in his running. You have to move wealth up to the top of your priority list in your life, and that means that nothing gets in the way of your studying this field. You can start where you are if you're in business and just become the best in the world at that. Earl Nightingale had a statement, if you spend 1 hour a day studying in your own field, you'll be a national expert in 5 years on that subject. And yet almost no one does that. In a month or in 6 months or in a year, they get tired of it and they go on to some other priority. They let some other priority get in the way. And so I would just say that you have to be able to make that your top priority and stick with it and be persistent. In our business, there was a 7-year period that I watched my dad when he struggled for 7 years in a row. And I remember Earl Nightingale saying at one point, "Let's just get out of this business, and let's just do the radio," because the radio was still successful, but our publishing end was just not doing well for 7 years in a row. And Lloyd just never hesitated. He said, "We're going to make this work," and he just, it was an education for me to just watch him stay at that in very difficult circumstances, and just stay at it for 7 years. And I think that's what we all have to be willing to do if we're committed to something. And if wealth is what we're committed to, then we have to be willing to make that investment, in ourselves in this area. You can use our programs, Joe's programs, and Alex's seminars, and I mean there's a tremendous amount of resources out there to help you, no matter if you're going to become an entrepreneur or just stay in your own job. But the main thing, in my mind, is you got to make that commitment and make it the top priority in your life, or certainly one of the very top.
I couldn't agree more, Vic. It's Alex. I actually put it on my screensaver. The little marquee that scrolls when it's on screensaver. I usually have an inspirational quote. I love the quotes that you guys send out. I think it's maybe weekly via email. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. Those, I don't know where you get the quotes from, but they're really good. And typically, there's always one or two in there that I like to borrow, for my teleseminars, because there's nothing like a nice inspirational quote to start off a call or a how-to product. We're done. We're at question number 10 on page 6, and we've come a long way in 70 minutes. And before we start off the final question, I want to remind everyone that if you would like, volunteered by me, Joe didn't know much about this, if you like the interview from the Genius Network set of interviews with Joe Polish and Vic Conant, you can get that for free, but you need to send an email to Gina at joepolish.com, Gina at joepolish.com. And you know what? Instead of making it a blank email, if you would like to hear more teleseminars like this, please let us know in the form of a personal development or the human motivation areas of expertise, because we're piddling around with the idea of doing teleseminars like this. And if you'd like to hear more of it, especially with Nightingale Conant authors or through Nightingale Conant, please let us know, because this whole process has been Socratic, who is, I guess, one of the first personal development geniuses of all time, and we'd like to hear from you if that's the case. And then also Advantage Magazine. You can simply go there by going to www.alexandvic.com, and that'll direct you to Advantage Magazine, and go ahead and subscribe to that. It's an excellent magazine. The editor is Carson Conant, Vic's son, and they've kept it in the family. There's some great editorial content along with some of the bonus gifts that you've already gotten from Vic straight out of that magazine. And Vic, question number 10, and I guess this is the question in the spirit of balance, learning versus doing. How do you know the precise time when to start doing and stop learning in order to avoid procrastination or becoming a how-to learning junkie? What would you say to that?
Well, I don't think you ever have to stop learning. Again, there's there's always an hour in the day, no matter what, that you can devote to your own education. But if Joe is a great example of someone that I know that's a learning junkie and yet a tremendous doer. And so one does not obscure the other. But if you, almost on the other extreme, if you in your heart feel like you're procrastinating or you are a procrastinator, then you have to just make you have to make taking action your top life priority. I just love this life priority idea, and commit, bring that up to the top of the list, and make action, taking action your top life priority, and it'll just automatically happen. And
which is like the Wayne Dyer commitment,
Wayne Dyer commitment. Yeah, you just make that your personal commitment, and it'll happen.
Great. Joe, any insights?
Oh, no, just fabulous. Vic, I very much appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. I thought it was awesome. I've got pages of notes here. Great.
No, it's been my absolute pleasure to get a chance to talk to our customers and possibly people that aren't familiar with Nightingale.
Yeah, and our job, of course, on our end is wanting to expose all of our clients and our listeners to resources that we feel can benefit them in so many ways, not just financially, and show them that there's wisdom available out there in all kinds of areas if you just avail yourselves of it. So on behalf of myself and my whole team that has assisted with this, I want to thank you, Vic, thank you, Alex, for always doing a superb job, and thank the listeners. And I'll turn it over to you and Vic for final last words.
Well, thanks, Joe. Vic, any final words on anyone listening regarding the area of finding mentors in the area of personal development? You've been immersed in it probably more than anyone else on the planet just because of where you work and what you do. Any final words on someone just starting out and wanting to find a mentor or bringing audio programs into their lives?
I think, if you go to, again, our website, and we have an area that's called the Classics, and I think that's a great place to start. You can't, any one of those products, you just can't make a mistake, because these are the products that have been proven, that millions of people have bought and benefited from. You just can't make a mistake buying all of them, because every one of them is different. Every one of them is unique, and I personally have listened to every one of them many times, and they're just great. It's a great place to start your, you might say, audio education from the standpoint of Nightingale Conant. And then of course, we have hundreds of other programs, but if you're just getting started, that would be what I would recommend.
Start with the classics, right?
Yes.
Just start with the classics. Joe?
Yeah, I was going to mention something. I know you recently recorded a program with Stephen Pressfield, I first originally heard about Stephen. He wrote a book called The War of Art, which I think is fabulous, and he wrote the book called Legend of Bagger Vance, which they ended up making a movie out of. And I know he's got a program coming out very soon, which I'm looking very forward to hear because I haven't heard it yet. Of course, it's not. I don't know if it's been released yet, but it's right around the corner. And I want to mention all the listeners that doing business with Nightingale is so easy. For one, they guarantee their programs. If you ever listen to anything and you do not find it valuable, you can get an exchange or a full refund. And so, it's really your choice. You can get.
That's never happened, but. We do offer it.
Yeah, exactly. And people, and part of that is commitment. Some people will just get programs. Certainly as great and wonderful as I think my Piranha marketing program is, there have been people that have returned it. Of course, I think those people are insane, but nonetheless, no, I'm joking. The thing is, there's so many different programs that you can avail yourselves of, and there's no risk. So it's
they thought it was about raising fish, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Just knowing how to fish, that's all.
No, so I wanted to mention that. So, again, thank you, Vic.
Great. Well, thank you all.
Okay, and on behalf of Vic Conant, Nightingale Conant, who's calling in from the Chicago area, and Joe Polish of Piranha Marketing calling out of Tempe, I'm Alex Mondosian with Heritage House Publishing out of the San Francisco area. We want to wish you good sales, good luck, and we hope our paths cross again very, very soon. Once again, if you want more of Vic, just send an email in the subject line saying, "Give me more Vic." Give me more Vic. And that's to Gina, Gina, at joepolish.com. Vic Conant, thank you very much. Joe Polish, thank you. And we hope our paths will cross again soon. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.